Welcome to the Piston Fanatic. I'm your host, Dave Dalton, and I'm excited to share my passion and perspective of our Detroit Pistons as we go on this fantastic voyage together. I've been a diehard Piston fan since the days of Dave Bing and Bob Lanier. I've also been the varsity basketball coach of a very successful program in northern Michigan. I want to thank you all so much for listening. Please subscribe if you haven't done it already and click on that like button. Detroit basketball, our Pistons. They beat down the Boston Celtics. It was not just a win. We beat them down. We beat them by 20. And Jaylen Brown, who said, I don't know if it was before last season, that, oh, yeah, you can just play anybody. We can just play Pritchard and anybody else who want to get the Pistons. We don't even have to play our players. They played everybody except for Jaylen Brown did not play tonight. And we just kicked their butt. And we are on a roll 8 in a row. First time since 2008. And 117-97. We just outscored them so bad in every quarter except for the second quarter. And they did get hot, man. They were missing their threes in the first quarter. We got out to an early lead. In the second quarter, in the last 6 minutes, I think they hit 11 threes in a row. But then they couldn't sustain that. But our defense is tough. We just keep on playing. Assar was phenomenal. He got the belt tonight. You know, the Pistons, after every game, they award one player the belt for who was the toughest. Like it's like a wrestling when they give out the belt for the champion in the wrestling. And he got it tonight. But a scary moment though. He's been playing so out of this world, and he went down on the floor and he grabbed his calf. And there's a lot of players that are out with those lower calf strains, but they think it's just a cramp. And it's funny. Beasley said after the game that you got to drink more pickle juice or something else. I don't know, so that you don't cramp. But yeah, you know, he set the tone early. Assar, he had 4 steals in the first 9 minutes of the game, and Tatum ended up with 27, but not when Assar was guarding him. The thing that happens in the NBA is you're not out there every minute, and Assar, he played 27 minutes. But there were a lot of minutes he wasn't on that he wasn't on Tatum, and also there's switches and things, and but when he was on him, he stole the ball right from Tatum twice in the first quarter, and so that was really cool. But yeah, he's phenomenal. He brings so much energy, and he does so many different things on the court. We're going to talk more about that. We'll hope that his calf is better. We play the Nuggets on Friday, and that's going to be another big challenge for us. But real quickly, I want to just apologize. I've been, during the All-Star break, I thought this is a great time, so I took off and I went to Cancun. I had a wonderful time with my friend Juliet, and then my granddaughter. I was in Cancun and I missed her. She scored as a junior, high school junior. She scored her 1,000th career point, but even bigger, I did get to see her this last Friday. She broke the all-time record in the state of Michigan for Division I, or Class A, the highest class of schools in the state of Michigan, for the most threes in a single season in the history. And the record was 82, and she's already got 90, and she's got at least 2 games left. So shout out to Kira. She's shooting 48% on threes, and they're guarding her tough. But anyway, on to our Pistons. I don't like to talk too much about myself or my family, but I'm so proud of her. But our Pistons are getting noticed, man. I listened to the podcast just today, so you need to go and listen to these podcasts. They're really good. Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst and Tim McMahon and Tim Bontemps, and they talk for over 5 minutes about our Detroit Pistons and how tough and how good they are, and how Cade Cunningham, everybody's saying, not just all NBA, but he's second team. Multiple people, they're not listening to each other. Some people listen to each other, but they, Bill Simmons on his podcast, the Bill Simmons podcast, and he is, again, everybody might not like him, but I think he's one of the smartest minds in basketball, and he knows the history. He's followed the game so close. He's a Celtics fan. He was a season ticket holder of the Celtics. So it's going to be fascinating to hear what he wants to. You want to listen to the next Bill Simmons podcast to see what he says about us taking it to his Boston Celtics, because he loves the Celtics just like I love the Pistons. His dad got him when he was a little kid, when he was a young kid. He got season tickets for the Celtics. But he's saying he goes through the top 10 players. Giannis and Jokic and Shea and all these guys, Luka, and he names off the top 10 players in the NBA. And Cade Cunningham, he might have been the last one of the 10, but he named Cade. And multiple people have said Cade is second team. And he said in another different podcast that Cade, he's got him a second team All NBA. But the thing that you got to know is about our Pistons is this is not anymore a one-man team. Everybody is stepping up. Everybody is doing more and better. And so Cade didn't even shoot great tonight, but Beasley, Threesley, he was on fire again, and he just brings a component. He makes such, when things are going bad, he hits a tough shot. And at the start of the fourth quarter, he hit back-to-back threes that I think that was just the final straw for the Celtics. The last 4 minutes, they put in their bench because we pounded them, So it was really exciting to see us, like the 8 in a row, and I was right about some things. I said before the season, this team is going to be so much fun to watch, I said. But I also said it's going to be ups and downs, and there still can be. The Pacers looked terrible at one time this year, and then they won over 15 of the last 20, or even better than that. The Lakers, they were looked at as dead, and then now they've been on a big tear. So teams can go up and down real fast and have big streaks in the way that everything is, and even in the Eastern Conference with a lot of these teams, including us, we're all pretty much together. And if you win 5 in a row, or a team can lose 5 in a row real easy, and you can have tough losses where you lose it. But during this streak and during this month, over the month, we've been beating teams by more than 10. I mean, we are in the top in plus minus in defense and in offense. We are just really playing just fantastic basketball, and it's just so special to watch and so much fun. So Dennis Schroeder, who has been playing great, he did not play tonight, and Fontecchio is still out, and so injuries can happen. I mean, I hope Assar can play Friday, and like I said, a lot of people get those calf strains that can be out for a long time, but I hope that he's not. But Beasley, he hit those back-to-back threes. The score ended up being 96-79, and he just is bringing this spirit and this energy. And JB said, though, he's ruining a generation of basketball players or something, including my son. JB's talking about his own son, because now every time a kid takes a shot, instead of playing defense, they're shaking their butt. And so I thought that was pretty funny. It was really cool. A guy I really like, Piston Jack. I hope you follow him on Twitter, and he does a post-game live telecast. I want you to watch my telecast, but he has on Twitter, you can go and watch his. He has Piston fans, and he gets other fans. They talk live about every game. But he flew from Australia. The Pistons paid for him to fly from Australia, and I'm just so happy for him. He had the time of his life. Cade gave him a jersey and talked to him, and I can just tell he's never had a better time. And so shout out to him. Shout out to George Blaha. He got the Kurt Gowdy Award, and you guys don't, probably most of you, unless you're really old like me, don't know who Kurt Gowdy is, but he was a great announcer back in the 70s and the 60s. And so George got that award. And George, I got a big kick tonight. George said what I had said in a prior podcast about Holland and Assar, how much energy they bring to him. And he said just what I said, that they're just like Sally and Rodman. They're different players in a lot of different ways, but they come out on the court. When Rodman and Sally came, it would be over for those. Holland and Assar have a ways to go before they get to be as good as those guys. And I think they'll be better offensive players, than those guys. But the Pistons teams just couldn't score on us in the fourth quarters, because they would play, even though Sally and Rodman didn't start a lot of the time, they would just come in the fourth quarter and they would just shut the other team down, along with Isaiah and Dumars and Lambier. It's really cool to have a team that's this exciting and this much fun to watch. And Jaylen Brown, put this in your pipe and smoke it, buddy. And it was really cool, because he just trash. He had no reason to trash us. He said before it was before the season even started, and he said, we can play our bench guys, and we don't even when against teams like the Pistons. And so he could have just said against weaker teams or whatever. But anyway, Tobias. So Tobias struggled, to be honest, with for the first 2 months, but he is just on fire lately. He's not so great at shooting threes, but he is scoring like 18 a game, and he's for the last month, for more than a month, or since January, and he has the fourth highest plus minus in the NBA since January. And the other three guys, I can't remember off the top of my head, but they're all stars. You know, he's not an all-star. And here's another thing. Philadelphia 76ers, you can put this in your pipe and smoke it. They booed Tobias Harris. They booed him. They booed him and trashed him, and he was the same player. So now he's playing this for the Pistons, and they got Paul George. They get Paul. You can have Paul George. He's injured, and I guarantee you, Paul George couldn't carry Tobias's jockstrap this year. And so Paul George is a great player, but he's not playing great this year. He's often injured, but it's just too bad. Tobias was not a bad player for Philadelphia. Maybe he got a good contract, that more than what he should have been paid, and they kept him and paid him bigger money, like $36 million a year, instead of keeping Jimmy Butler. But anyway, it's just funny that they booed him this year, and he is, I bet they would like to have him back. I bet they'd be better off with him than Paul George. I guarantee it. So that was cool. JB. Here's the thing about JB, and who can argue with anything about JB when we've done so well? And he is a consistent person about everything that he does, and you can hear it in every press conference. Their approach to every game, their approach to playing defense, everything's calculated and everything's consistent. He doesn't get too up, too down. He starts the same guys. Unless there's an injury, he starts the same guys every game. And he doesn't ever vary. Guys can, Fontecchio, and again, I'm a Fontecchio fan, but he hasn't had a good year. And I think part of the reason he doesn't get to play very many minutes, and so doesn't have the confidence, but he still plays him. Instead of saying you're struggling, we're not going to play you anymore. But the same thing with everybody. He just plays. Holland. He has been so consistent. I want Holland to play more minutes tonight. He got to play some more minutes. So partway maybe because Fontecchio was out, but Holland played 19 minutes tonight, and most of the time he just plays 14, and he just makes things happen. And he made things happen tonight. And he's had a couple bad games recently, and in those games play him only 14. But so JB always plays them though. JB is the whole year, and he wouldn't have probably got that start. I still would be curious to see what would have happened if Assar would have been playing at the beginning of the year. If I didn't see any minutes for him, for Holland, and it's worked out great that he's got it. But the big thing is I talked about last year. I just begged our team to play the core four guys, and I just kept on saying it over and over again, and it just drove me nuts that Monty would not play them together, and we were playing Killian, and we were playing other guys. Killian started for the Nets, I think, the other night. I don't know how good he did, but how exciting is this? We have these young guys. Jalen Duren has been tearing up the league. He has been dominating. Tonight he only played 26 minutes, 13 points, 6 out of 7 shots, 11 rebounds. He only had 2 assists. He's been averaging like 5 assists the last 2 weeks, and he's just been making great passes and not turning it over, which he did last year. So we got him, and then we got these guys that just have this connection. Obviously, Cade and Duren connection is just out of this world, how well they play together. There was a stretch today, I think it was in the first half, 3 times in a row, 3 possessions in a row, Cade dishes to Duren for a layup or a dunk. And they've had that special connection. So we've seen that. But now we've seen Cade and Assar have this special connection. And then another connection that's going on is Assar and Duren have this connection where they're looking for each other and finding each other for easy baskets and stuff. And just think, these guys are babies, and they're on our team. And we got this young team that's just, getting better, and we're rolling through the league. Not that it's just it's sustainable. And I do, everybody talks about, I hear people start talking about, who we want to play and who we don't want to play in the playoffs. We don't want to play the Celtics or the Cavs, or we'll get killed or whatever. But I really do. I would love us to get at least 6. But the sky's the limit for this team. They've just blown away anything that most of us have thought. And I am just so thrilled. I thought they were going to win 32 games this year. that has been blown away a long time ago, or not a long time ago, but it's just crazy how good they've played. And like I said, the Celtics were a good team. They're by far the second best record in the league, and yeah, they're good. But we just out-scrapped them. We out-hustled them. We out-quicked them. We had the fast break, and our fast break is, I think we're second in the league in the fast break. We're first in the league in dunks. But imagine when we get together, put Duren, Cade, Assar, and Ivy. You put Ivy into the fast break instead of having Hardaway out there. And I just, will be honest, I admire Hardaway. He has had a real good year, but he has not had a great year. He doesn't do much except shoot, and sometimes he hasn't shot that great. He's won us some games. Don't get me wrong. He's won us some games, where he's had just phenomenal nights and he's hit some big shots. But his contract is up at the end of the year. And I'll tell you this: if I'm Trajan, I'm not going to re-sign Hardaway. So some of you can get mad about that because I know we fall in love with him. I admire and respect how he's been a leader, how hard he's worked, and he has hit big shots. But if he doesn't play, then Holland gets more minutes, then Ivy's going to get more minutes. And the other thing is JB has so much respect for veterans. If we don't get rid of him, he's going to play him. So even, again, Troy Weaver, again, he made mistakes, but he drafted some pretty good players. And they weren't all just locks for those slots. Everybody didn't have Ivy going at the 5th spot. They certainly didn't have Duren going at 13. And Assar was a top 10. A lot of people had on the mock drafts had Assar going at number 10 or whatever. So I do pretty well predicting players and how good they're going to be and whatever. But the thing is that you can't know that that Troy was really big on is drafting the person, not the player. So I don't get to interview these guys. I don't get to ask about their high school coach or their college coach or assistant coaches, or see who, find people who know these guys and know what they're like. Because there's guys like Mathurin that I thought, there's a lot of things about his numbers. If you just look at him in a vacuum and don't know that I liked him better than Ivy. And there certainly were guys I liked better than Assar because I thought the Pistons needed shooting, and he can't shoot. He still can't shoot. But I still see him. I just saw a video the other day of Holland and Assar playing, shooting with Fred Vinson and working on their shots. So, yeah, that was real cool. But again, I'm going to jump back real quick. Try to go back to today's Hoop Collective podcast and the Bill Simmons podcast and listen to those and see what how they talked about not just Cade but our Pistons. So, yeah, real quick going through the box scores. Assar had 27 minutes, hurt his calf, probably had a Charlie horse like it, and I've had those, man. I've had those, play basketball, wake up in the night, man, you just pull your toes back and try to get that out of there and have somebody rub it if you can. But I hope it's not serious. But he had 7 points, and he was 3 of 6, and he had 6 rebounds, 2 assists, but the 5 steals, 4 of them were in the first quarter. He just goes after it. He was plus 15, so he just makes things happen. Tobias is the oldest guy on our team. I'm pretty sure. I'm 90% sure, and he plays like the most minutes. Him and Cade are right up there at the top. But he played 34 minutes tonight, 16 points. Again, his percentages. He was inconsistent shooting for the first couple of months of the season, but he has turned it around, and he had 9 rebounds. So even when he wasn't shooting well, he's been at rebounding. 9 rebounds. He rebounds. I don't like when he pushes the ball. I don't like when he passes out of double teams. He likes to do that, but his mid-post game and turnaround jumper on guys, especially when he knows he has an advantage. He hits an unbelievable percentage, and that's a great weapon for a team to have, when you need a bucket. And he had 3 blocks tonight and 2 assists, so plus 13. Cade played 34 minutes. They kept him out at the end for time they would have put him back in if it would have got closer, but he 34 minutes, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 11 assists, and he was only 9 for 21 and 1 for 4 on threes, but he still has a big impact, and he still draws so much gravity on players, and he was plus 12. Beasley, again, he was on fire, and he just, is just such a thing when your team is struggling or your team needs a basket, and he can just hit. Again, I will repeat this, and my granddaughter does the same thing. Everybody in the state knows that Kira is going to shoot threes, and they are on her like glue, and they just know, and Beasley's the same way, but he just catches it. His shot preparation is unbelievable, and we run plays for him. He curls off a pick and catches it up at the top. We see that play consistently, but he just knocks those tough shots down, and that is a hard thing. That's what every team needs, and that's why Cade is going to be valuable, so valuable. You need guys, especially in the playoffs. So guys like Michael Jordan were so valuable because the game slows down. We're getting all these fast break points, but the playoffs, a lot of times the game slows down, and so you got to have some guys that can make tough shots, and Beasley can and Cade can. Assar got to play a bunch because of shoulder being injured. He hasn't got to play in a long time, it seems like, and he played 21 minutes. He had 1 rebound, 3 assists. He was 3 for 8. He missed layup. He was 0 for 2 on free throws, and but he was plus 19. He tied with Stu for the plus. And here's Stu again. This has happened so many games. 20 minutes. He only plays 20 minutes. He scores 5 points. He only got 1 rebound tonight, and he had 2 blocks though. And you just know that he impacts the game. He's down there trying to get rebounds, offensive rebounds every possession. He's only averaging like 20 minutes. So this guy averaged like 13 points and 8 rebounds for us. He's not averaging anywhere close to that, but he played more minutes. He started all the time, and he's accepted this role just like all these guys. And JB talked about that, about how everyone is starting in the role, but also on this team, and you can just see it, everybody celebrates each other. Everybody is for each other. When you hear them talk, when they're ever questioned about stuff, they'll talk about how amazing Assar is or how amazing Holland is. They just are just fans of their teammates, and that goes a long ways. And again, nobody could have quite expected this defense to be this tough. And we held the Boston Celtics, one of the most talented, greatest offensive teams. I think they might have last year had the greatest offense in NBA history. I'm pretty positive of that. And they scored 97 points on our guys tonight. So shout out to JB Bickerstaff and his defense. Like I said, Beasley was 10 for 15 and 6 for 11 on threes. And Holland, 19 minutes, 8 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals. So the triple threes. And he shot 4 for 8, 0 for 3 on threes. And I do believe that his 3-point shot, it's going to be good at some point. I think he's going to work hard all summer. And but yeah, Hardaway. So 29 minutes. He had 9 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 for 8. He was -1. He was the only guy on our team with minus, plus, minus. And again, plus, minus isn't always right, but he, I don't know. I just think that it's going to be a hard decision. I know a lot of you fans, we fall in love with him because he's been everything we could ask for of him. And so it's hard to say, but you just can't keep everybody. We want to be able to pay Beasley. It's going to take the mid-level exemption to get him. And you just got to, it's going to be interesting what happens. We're going to talk more about this in another podcast about Duren and Ivy's extensions. So we can extend them. And we're going to talk about how much do we think, but they, Duren's, that's why we wanted to watch. So I've never trashed Duren the whole year. You can go back and listen to all my podcasts, and I stayed by him, and so many people trashed him, and made no sense to not at least see what he's going to do this year. And again, he has exceeded my expectations the last 2 months, and he's like 20 years old and 21, and he's, you know, could be one of the best centers in the league. So I mean, the way he's played the last month and a half or whatever, he is one of the best centers in the NBA, and he plays hard and tough. And we're really lucky to have him. But yeah, anyway, I feel so bad. I hope I let you down. I probably not have very many viewers because I haven't been on the air, and so I understand that if you haven't been listening, and I missed all these awesome games to talk about. So I was really bummed that I didn't get to talk and share in these this big win streak with you guys. But I really do appreciate you. I really appreciate how loyal so many of you have been, and please share it with someone else. Tell someone else about this podcast. And what a blast! What a blast we're having. But be the reason that somebody feels cared for and loved, and go Pistons.